Hi, my name is Erik Vrij, and I'm going to read the first title story of this book, Swiss Frankenstein Financial Horror Stories. It looks like this, and it starts on page 19, ends at page 31. It's the first of 22 short financial horror stories. Swiss Frankenstein. What is this? Said the balding man as he took off his horn-rimmed Ralph Lauren glasses and looked at one of the three screens on his desk, ignoring the fountain outside that was jetting 500 liters of Lake Geneva's water 140 meters into the air. Gregor Shipley had been a private banker ever since he graduated from the University of Basel. He was teased by his university friends for looking like a born accountant, and they had been right. Little hair of grey color, dark grey suit, light grey or white shirt, dark tie without any detail or color having potential to draw attention. No humor, he ticked all boxes. The calculator in his chest pocket was missing, although he had been seen wearing a Texas Instrument TI and Aspire CXH top model there occasionally. Moreover, he had worn suspenders and a belt simultaneously on numerous occasions. Gregor had initially joined the Big Four accounting firm in Zurich, but moved on after just 6 years of counting beans, although he liked it. He had had enough of being made fun of and made a significant career switch, according to his few Basel mates, and joined a mediocre private bank, one of many that littered downtown Geneva. Moving his way up the ranks at snail speed, he had probably reached the summit of his career as senior private banker. The international bank transfer Gregor had just initiated was not settled. Error code 087, conversion unavailable, it said. Gregor called his usual IT contact Marwan on Teams and explained the issue. There seems to be a bigger issue. Others in the bank have reported the same problem. We are in touch with SNB, Marwan said, referring to the Swiss National Bank. Okay, thank you, Marwan. This had better be solved quickly. My client is not patient. About 290 kilometers away at SNB's Zurich head office at Börsenstrasse, sweat poured down Gottlieb Schwegler's forehead. He had just hung up on a call from the chairman's office. He had been summoned to the chairman's office immediately. The continuous linked settlement foreign exchange settlement system he oversaw was not doing the only crucial thing it was supposed to do, to facilitate all international payments to or from Switzerland. Settling foreign transactions by converting Swiss francs into any other currency, or the other way around. As proud as he was to boast that all exchanges of currencies for all of Switzerland was made possible due to his system, he was now very painfully aware that continuation of this problem for minutes could cost him his job in hours. Trillions were held in Swiss bank accounts based on a simple premise that it could be converted and used outside of Switzerland. Nobody ever thought of that because it always worked in Switzerland. Until it didn't. Until today. He had never been inside the office of the chairman of the governing board. When he entered the large, modern-looking office, most executive committee members and some senior executives were there. Some of the EXCO members were sitting on couches around a low table where the chairman was sitting as well. Others were standing behind the couches and did not seem bothered to get chairs. Thank God I'm not the only one here. There must be a very serious issue if this many senior executives are gathered. I've never seen them together except on town halls. Gentlemen, said the Hans-Michael Demark, Hami as most staff refer to him, chairman of the Swiss National Bank's governing board. A tragedy is unfolding. Our CLS system has been settling foreign exchange transactions since about 40 minutes ago. A flood of calls is coming in not just from all over Switzerland, but from Swiss bank account holders worldwide. Parents that want to send money to their children abroad, companies that need to pay invoices. You know what part of the several trillion Swiss francs that are held in bank accounts with Swiss banks must be exchanged, and what happens if that doesn't happen. Every second we are unable to do so, we are incurring gigantic damages, not just financially, but most of all, reputationally. Switzerland is a beacon of stability, neutrality, reliability. What's happening is a tragedy. I've never seen the chairman this upset, but no surprise, thought Gottlieb. What on earth is happening? You may not realize why this is happening, but I've summoned you because this is not just a technical glitch. He paused and looked around the people that were regulating, facilitating, and partly running the entire banking system of Switzerland. Oh, here it comes, Gottlieb said, thought with a sigh of relief. There is a reason. Let it be something I can't be blamed for. The senior executives in the room were motionless, silent, almost taken from Madame Tussaud. The chairman continued. About 20 minutes ago, I received an email from an obscure email address. He put on his reading glasses and looked at the print he held. The email said the following: Switzerland's reputation as a financial center will be destroyed within a day unless a ransom will be paid. The email address was telling: ransom@swissfrankenstein.attack. He looked up from the print. The message stopped there. No amount mentioned, no best regards, only the name Swiss Frankenstein signed at the bottom, he added with a cynical tone of voice. Trust is everything, and time is of the essence. Every minute counts. That is why I want each of you to be advised and challenged by the best consultants money can buy. You will all get a call in the next 30 minutes from a cyber fraud consultancy I've just instructed. They will not run the show formally, but they will have carte blanche to do the needful, subject to my approval and consultation with yourselves. Is that clear? The senior executives in the room nodded. Some murmured a faint clear. Shortly after the meeting, Heidi Bloom, head of communication at SMB, was browsing the internet. She had just come out of an emergency meeting with the biggest call center operator of Switzerland, as well as a specialist media and investor relations consultancy. They had presented the media impact and commotion that had arisen. A search for Swiss franc exchange had already yielded about 50 pages of results, and they weren't great at all, not at all, a disaster. She scrolled through with a view on how to communicate around this. This disaster was the only word that came up. Countless articles about ransomware, speculating on who was behind Swiss Frankenstein, even about the similarities between the real monster Frankenstein and Swiss Frankenstein. On the technical background and the security of the CLS system, countless pages with stories of personal and business being affected. Cynical comments about black money not being useful either. Disaster. Her eye was caught by one response in the comments under an article on ft.com. What is a currency if it cannot be exchanged? The Swiss franc is reduced to a zombie currency, alive but dead. Money sitting in a closed Swiss pocket. Whatever ransomware may have infected the SMB, Swiss Frankenstein has turned the Swiss franc into a zombie currency, a half-dead currency walking around Switzerland. She smiled for a brief moment. Nice pun. She thought further. Dangerous though. How to correct a pun like that? Downplay, distract, probably, not sure. A short press conference was hastily organized at SMB. Heidi Bloom went on stage and made a statement. Today, the continuous linked settlement foreign exchange settlement system has ceased to process foreign exchange transactions. It appears the CLS system and the Swiss National Bank have become victim of a ransomware attack. The Swiss National Bank is doing everything it can to understand the cause of the system's failure to process transactions, and she looked into the camera that broadcasted her dull appearance to millions of viewers around the world, to solve the issue as soon as practically possible. She left the stage, dodging a barrage of questions on who was behind this, how many transactions had been affected, and some questions she frankly couldn't answer. Gottlieb had slept badly that first night after the infection. The cause was still utterly unclear, and speculation was all over the global news. All major news channels around the world and financial media had jumped on the settlement system that made it go around. Nobody had heard of CLS, a hitherto boring currency exchange system that exchanged billions of Swiss francs without anyone being interested, paying attention. His system had been taken for granted by the world, just like so many other payment systems, until it did not work anymore. Lots of schadenfreude, of course. Annoying, the usual Swiss account holder bashing, banking secrecy that was punished. It had been decreasing anyway. After a long fight with his wife about not having prevented this from happening and the prospects of being fired, she slept in the guest room for an hour. He dreamed of CLS, a nightmare. Literally, CLS had gone malicious. It wasn't just a cold error message as most account holders had really seen the day before. He saw the CLS dashboard he would be watching in the office, reporting account balances being exchanged without instruction into accounts and currencies that were never meant to be credited. An invisible hand seemed to control the flows of finance, control currencies, move money. The computer screen in front of him was showing the consolidated movements. The S&B chairman barged into his office, nearly shouting at him that all banks had been reporting payments that weren't instructed, triggered and settled by CLS. CLS had gone nuts. Amounts transferred to random beneficiaries around the planet. He had woken up bathed in sweat when his computer had started laughing at him. A scary and loud laugh. Out of a computer on the desk in the Swiss National Bank that had never produced any sound other than an occasional beep upon some incoming email, depending on the audio settings. The next day, the Financial Times front page opened with a dreaded headline. Heidi Bloom, as well as other senior executives of S&B, were watching it in awe, sitting in the S&B boardroom together with all ExCo members. Swiss franc victim of a ransomware attack. The article was projected on a big screen at the front of the meeting room. The participants' eyes were glued to it, devouring the lines on the pink background. The Swiss National Bank's continuous linked settlement foreign exchange settlement system has been attacked by ransomware, according to an email received by FT from a source signing as Swiss Francenstein and using the email address ransom@swissfrankenstein.attack. During the morning of July 28, the CLS system ceased to process foreign exchange transactions, leaving several million transactions unprocessed. According to the email, Switzerland's reputation as a financial center will be destroyed in a day unless a ransom is paid. The Swiss National Bank has responded to do everything it can to find the cause of the issue and to solve it as soon as possible. The SMI, Switzerland's most important equity index, nosedived by 15% in half an hour before trading was stopped. A photo of the SMI was pictured next to the article. It is a short article, not much more to paint than a grim picture, said Chairman Hans-Michael Newmark. We are about 20 hours into this nightmare and are rapidly losing our reputation if we don't act very quickly. He looked at Carl, S&B's head of IT. Carl, why don't you brief us on where we stand on the technical side of the attack? Carl shoved in his chair and cleared his throat. He looked tired and wore the same grey suit with blue shirt as the previous day, and that was not because he liked them so much. We have looked deeply into the coding of the system, together with external forensic software experts and ransomware specialist consultants, I should add. All through the night, the entire CLS system has been analyzed, every line of code. Usual ransomware would normally not be hard to discover, but rather be hard to solve. In this case, we are looking at a mystery. There is absolutely nothing extraordinary to be seen. CLS should be working normally, but when we do a test run, it simply won't process the transaction. The email addresses also show absolutely no traceable IP address, domain, or other traceable. Gottlieb Schwegler looked at Chairman Newmark. What is he going to say about this? Clearly not the kind of answer he's looking for. He thought of his dream. I never remember dreams so clearly flashed through his mind for a moment. Transactions that self-initiated, CLS going nuts, spooky, the loud sadist laugh. This can't be, Carl. You know my esteem for you is high, but this is not good. This is not a story we can communicate. This will look stupid. We will have a press conference in hours. We must have something to tell, Carl. Something that makes sense, the beginning of something. There must be progress, something tangible. If we present nothing, heads will roll. If the people that have been trusted turn out not to be capable of solving an issue like this, it will be very damaging for S&B. He paused and looked out of the window. For the whole of Switzerland, in fact. A pen fell on the ground, creating the only sound apart from the air conditioning Carl and the others in the room were motionless, until the head of domestic settlements, Giovanni La Rota, spoke in his typical Ticinese Italian dialect. "Excuse me, I'm just getting a message. Our domestic payments are not settled well. Apparently payments are not settled differently from the instructions, and even..." Hang on, this can't be real. He looked at his phone. "It is even being reported that payments are being made without any instruction, from regular consumer accounts to random accounts of other consumers and companies across Switzerland." He looked up. "This is unreal." Gottlieb Schwegler swallowed hard. My dream comes true. Just as the chairman was about to respond, SMB's general counsel, Nina Zimmerli, pointed at the screen where the FT article was projected. Look, look, she said. They all looked and watched, speechless. The Financial Times main front headline was being rewritten on the big screen on the boardroom, as if typed by an invisible typewriter, but in full FT layout. Swiss Francenstein ransomware now blocks all Swiss franc payments. The date and day of the article changed to the next days, and the article started to be typed into an empty piece of front cover. The Swiss National Bank's board members watched in awe as they saw the main cover photo being replaced for one of their building. A text was typed underneath that read, "Swiss National Bank unable to solve Swiss franc settlement issues." Nina took her phone and started making a video recording of the surreal thing that was happening on the screen. Letters were typing the next day's article. A day after the Swiss franc ceased to be exchangeable into foreign currencies, settlement issues have expanded to domestic payments. In the course of Wednesday, domestic payment irregularities started being reported throughout Switzerland. The Swiss interbank clearing continued its operation, but payments were in many cases cleared to different accounts and in different amounts than as instructed. SIC operates on behalf of the Swiss National Bank. SNB has responded that it's looking into the matter with the highest possible priority. Just as the article appeared to be finished and Nina Zimmerli was about to stop recording the video, a text in the big handwritten letters appeared across the screen. "Want to avoid tomorrow's news? Pay 1,000,000 Bitcoin." In a few seconds the text disappeared and the original FT article appeared again. "I've recorded all of it," said Nina, playing with her phone. "Hang on." She replayed the video she just recorded and looked. "This can't be right. You all saw the article being rewritten, right?" She looked up and around the table. Some nodded. "Well, my recording shows nothing. It simply shows the original FT article throughout the video." She continued while watching the video that was playing. "This is unreal." Hans-Michael Newmark broke the silence after a bit. "How much is a million Bitcoin? Isn't a Bitcoin over 60,000 francs? He silently did the math himself. 60 billion francs, they're asking? He was silent again. "That is insane." Another silence followed. We can't just tap that kind of money." "We are a central bank. We can print money," said Nina. "Are you crazy?" said Hans-Michael. "Do you have any idea what that means for inflation?" "I'm not an economist," said Nina, "but couldn't they spend the money elsewhere than in Switzerland? If we create Swiss money that is fully exchangeable into Bitcoin that vanishes, it doesn't seem likely to go into the Swiss economy and increase prices. And even if some of it does, our country has never really shied away from receiving funds." Faint chuckles could be heard around the table. "I don't think printing money is the way to solve an issue like this," said Chairman Hans-Michael, "but we may need to be open to any option. Let's create work streams that will investigate various options of dealing with this issue, Uli," he said to Ulrich Leitner, SMB's chief economist. "Look, look," said Nina as she scrambled to get her phone into the video modus again. She started recording the big screen where another news headline appeared. "Quantitative easing is the only solution to the pain that will increase." Almost immediately a sadist laugh sounded. "What on earth was that?" asked Gottfried. "I heard that laugh before," said Ulrich. He paused for a moment, thinking. "Isn't it the one at the end of Michael Jackson's Thriller song?" "Indeed," someone else said. The chairman was again the first to break the silence. What kind of a horror story have we ended up in? Said Chairman Hans Michael. This is becoming a very bad dream. I have no idea what I'm going to tell the president. This is just unbelievable. I feel I need witnesses before she is going to doubt my mental capacity. We can arrange that, said General Counsel Nina. We may need quite a few to make this a credible story, though. We don't have any time, said Ulrich Leitner. Any minute this issue is not resolved, our financial system and country will be taken less seriously, become very fragile, a pariah country even, perhaps. We will lose considerable funds. It is a very high price to pay, perhaps higher than 60 billion. Who says that we'll actually stop this attack if we pay, said Nina. I read that most ransomware attacks lead to another kind of decryption key being given when payment has been made, in some 90% of cases, but that doesn't automatically solve the problem. In some 30% of cases, additional measures had to be taken. Obviously, those are not the kind of cases of ransomware that stop a country from operating like our case. We can't exclude they will want more if they see we are paying. Paying is a sign of weakness. Frankly, we are hardly in a strong position, said Hans Michael, but I take your point. I think we will need to find a technical solution to get rid of this problem in no time, and that solution should cost us less than 60 billion. He looked again at Carl. Carl, what resources have you not tried yet? Can we talk to secret services, WizKids, hackathon winners, anything? I'm skeptical of the results, Carl responded, but of course we must try any realistic option. The personal assistant of the chairman walked over to Chairman Hans Michael and said something in his ear. He frowned and said, "There you will have it, the president of the Confederation on the phone. Please stay here, except Nina." He walked out with Nina following him. They returned about 15 minutes later. We've told her that an army of WizKids has not been able to find any IT issue. We've not told her about what we have all seen on the screen, nor about the laugh. I never felt closer to being a liar. Anyway, we have agreed to a way forward. He looked around the table, ending with Heidi. The country has never been under a more severe attack. There is sheer panic at every level, in every corner of the country and government. Hans Michael's voice was shaking. The president has told me in no uncertain terms that this needs to be resolved immediately at any price. The way forward is therefore that we're going to print money, buy 1 million Bitcoin, pay the ransom, and hold a press conference in which we announce that we are very close to solving the issue. A sigh of relief was almost audible around the table. Heidi, please prepare a press conference to be held at noon today. Carl, you will of course continue to identify the issue with whatever means necessary. Uli, please get the money printer rolling and arrange for immediate conversion into Bitcoin. The Federal Intelligence Agency will closely follow the payment and all of our movements and whatever we say, or better not say. This is a state secret, as you will understand. Exactly at noon, about an hour and a half after the meeting ended, Heidi Bloom came on stage in the small press center of the Swiss National Bank. It had never been as packed with press in its existence. Heidi looked briefly into the room before quickly peering back onto the screen in front of her that covered the teleprompter that she was going to read from. The words were carefully chosen and agreed with Chairman Hans Michael. They had considered whether he would present the press conference, but they had decided to leave the presentation of the matter as an incident, not to be elevated to the highest level, even though that was exactly what had happened behind the screens. Broadcast around the world, Heidi Bloom began the report of the SNB's greatest moment of misery. Yesterday, the Swiss National Bank's continuous linked settlement foreign exchange settlement system has become subject of a ransomware attack of unprecedented proportions and sophistication. Foreign exchange transactions have been widely become blocked or otherwise disrupted. This morning, the ransomware attack has spread to include domestic payments of Swiss francs cleared through the Swiss interbank clearing. In the interest of national and international financial security, we will not comment on the actual attack or details of the ransom at this time. All we will say is that we expect the attack to be resolved imminently. Thank you very much. Heidi did not dare looking at the journalists present. As she left the stage towards the door on the side of the room, the journalists fired countless questions at her until they were silenced. They were silenced by the same horrific loud laugh on the speakers that silenced the senior executives of the S&B earlier.